Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Saturday Smackdown. This time between Black Thought and Dictator, two brand new people that we have not seen to Smackdown before. It's going to be good. Fresh blood. I think Zuta hasn't seen these two players either.
Yeah, I haven't. Although, to be fair, like, they're both pretty high PR, so...
So it should be good. We're going to look forward to this, especially with the French versus German, our first game. But for the benefit of anybody just tuning in, even though I said this just moments ago, we obviously just restarted for if anyone doesn't quite understand why I'm saying this again. We do this every week on twitch.tv/Age of Empires. And the time is in the description if you wanted to come and watch this live. Alternatively, there is this VOD on YouTube. And if you're watching the VOD, you will notice that today we have 60 glorious frames per second. I've decided I want to record the entire thing and put it up and not condense it down. And I'll put the timestamps in the description as usual so you can skip all of the downtime in between games. But I thought some people might want to see all that and capture the true essence of Smackdown. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of funny stuff that happens in between games, I must say. It's pretty good. But, yes, we do have, in the north of the map, in the color blue, playing as the Germans, Black Thoughts. I love his clan tag. Look at that, ESOC.
Yeah.
I might join. I think I might rep that. For those of you who do not know, I'm going to mention this. Again, it's very topical. We have a big stream planned for next week. Very specific to ESOC, the ESOC community, and obviously the tournament is very, very soon as well. Sign-ups are still open, link in the description. But yes, there is Blue, building his trading post with his 200 wood, collecting wood for a house, there it is, in the south of the map, in the color teal, or cyan, or light blue. I'm in the habit of calling it cyan from Age of Mythology, even though it's not, no, calling it teal, sorry, even though it's not actually that. But doing a very similar thing, actually, in fact, the same thing, building a trading post and a house.
Yeah, I do want to point out that Dictator here, spawning in the south of the map, did miss the first pass of XP. It was pretty close, but the trading cart did go by, so he hasn't gotten a drop of XP yet. And with German, or I guess French, it's not as important as it is with Germany, but to some degree still a little bit of a mistake there. I mean, that trading post on the first pass from the south position on Siberia is pretty easy to get, but I didn't see exactly what his Explorer was doing early in the game, but did miss the first pass. So he's going to get his first pass now here at 2 minutes and 15 seconds, but not quite as good as if you would have gotten it on the first pass about a minute ago.
Absolutely. The extra XP, really good, especially in this matchup. Fortress Age, probably quite likely, and obviously shipments there much more important, or much more useful, I should say. But there is a 75 food treasure he did get. Perhaps he was like taking some time out to crack shot the guy before building the trading. I don't know what happened there, but have you seen what Blue is up to? Picking himself up, well, not quite. He was going for that 205 food treasure up here. Looks like he's abandoned that for the time being.
That treasure takes so long to take with a European Explorer. You can take it with taking minimal damage, but I would argue that, especially in a position like that, it's maybe not worth taking, just because like you kind of want to prioritize getting wood treasures early in the game. And if you spend like 2 minutes microing all those monkeys down to take that treasure, you're not going to be able to search the map for the more valuable wood treasures. And if say something happens like the French player gets 3 wood treasures or something as a result of you taking that treasure, like, is it really worth it?
Ooh. He's got... I can see why he abandoned it now. He had 28 health.
He's so low on HP.
I thought that scout might kill him, but yeah, he clearly stopped because it was quite low. I feel like that treasure is something you do during transition when there's really not a lot going on, or at least less going on than in the rest of the game. But both players on their way up, fairly evenly paced here. See Teal walking through his base, seeing what Blue's up to. Sees a market going down. Doesn't really tell much. You'll have to come back. But that scout's fairly low. Siberia Tower doing some work.
And speaking of low, the German Explorer is back down to 24 HP. It's going to be really close. Like, he can't take too many shots from these monkeys. I do also want to point out that this treasure with Japan on this map is super trivial to take because of the amount of divine strikes that you tend to get on these little monkeys. And,
God.
If that monkey would have gotten off one more attack, he would have left a 205 wood treasure with a single monkey guarding it. But got it. Worth it in the end. Picks that up. Going to be a nice little bonus for him moving forward.
It's going to be really good. I feel like if he wants to go up to the next stage, that's definitely going to help. If he wants to make Yolan, that's going to... Wait, I'm just listing all of the things that Germany do. It doesn't matter what he does, that's just to help. Like, it's going to pretty much guarantee a full batch of Yolan.
Yep.
And just be really useful generally. You don't have to really put much thought into as to why. But both players, we'll take a look at the shipments and see what they're up to. Not really very telling at the moment. There's only one shipment each, obviously, the villager shipments that you always start with. But that first shipment, I imagine, from both players... will be the villagers, since we do see stables going down for both players. Very indicative of that semi-FF where you get a couple of cav out and do some raiding. And indeed, there are the 4 villagers from the French player.
Yeah, and I do also want to mention that, like, with that 200 plus food treasure, that can, like, transition into other more important things too. That can give you something like maybe a great coat, which usually you don't work into your build for that extra HP on your villagers, or maybe an earlier second coin gathering upgrade or something like that as well. So
ooh, two guys coming in. They look pretty far away. And actually, French villagers are weaker than other villagers versus cavalry, before they're upgraded at least, because of that. You know, they literally do not have a resistor versus them. Loses a Carrera there, and it's not a very good start for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, and maybe even more importantly, like, Black Thought's doing a good job of keeping these cav at high HP. He didn't get greedy, he didn't run underneath the town center, didn't run too close to the stable where he could potentially get caught. And, there, he just backs off, can bait.
He stopped though. No, he's fine.
Keep going.
But is he going to bait them? Is he baiting these 5 Hussar for? No, he's not. There's 5 Yolan.
He definitely should.
Way.
He should fight here. He's got 2 more coming from the north. He's got that big batch of 5.
The other 5, meanwhile, going in for a raid. Perhaps that's his game plan. Lure the Hussars away rather than taking a fight. Yeah. Perhaps it's the safer thing to do. So you want to keep your Yolan count high. But still, that fight would have been really good to take.
Yeah, I think it would have been as well. I think he could have just completely eliminated all of the cav from the French player and just gained himself a really nice big advantage in terms of, like, cav. Oh, he needs to be so careful. At the same time, the French player has to know there's those other 4 cav roaming around the map and needs to be careful himself.
Oh, he's fine. Okay, he saw that. He was like, nope, I'm getting out of there.
Yeah.
Oh God, they're so close. There's so much tension in this area that is just waiting to happen.
But now the French player with that second batch of calves is going to be able to deflect this pressure fairly easily should he choose to do so. He's also, of course, got the shooting buildings, the tower, the town center, which are only going to help in dealing with the Ulan as well. And it looks like both players gearing up to try and get to the next stage. We can see both players have sent 700 coin, which is fairly indicative of aging. And indeed, Black Thought, the German player, the first to make the transition towards aging, as he is now progressing to the 3rd age with that ever so popular fast age up.
Exiled Prince, boys, in the chat. But, skipped his 700 wood. I'm not certain if that's something you often see as Germany anyway, but certainly going to be getting up a lot faster than the French player who elected to send that 700 wood and get some infrastructure down, and who also elected to build a second batch of cav here. So the fact that he's going to be in the Fortress Age sooner is a big deal. We're going to see those shipments coming out, but equally a little bit vulnerable to the settlers are, at least, for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of the difference between sending the 700 coin in, or the 700 wood and not, right? Like, he's not going to be able to really build anything. If you take a look at, like, Black Thought's current population situation, he's at 57 out of 50, which means like he can't train more cav even if he wanted to, just because he doesn't have the resources to build the infrastructure to make more cav. And so for the time being, until he gets down another house and is able to, utilize his resources in an effective way, and until that shipment comes, which it has just come now, he's going to be, a little bit behind in terms of being able to make military. But at the same time, he did get aged up earlier. He did force the French player to build a few more Hussar than the French player likely would have wanted to make, and as a result, he finds himself with a fairly nice little tech advantage right now.
I think so, in a good spot. I mean, those villagers are going to collect enough wood for housing at some point, and those resources all will be spent. Yeah, it'll just be delayed a little bit, but we're still going to have the same amount of cav out pretty quickly. But all that time, Blackthorn, despite being housed, did manage to keep a settler in queue at all times, so looking pretty good here. He's in his opponent's base, though. What's he... he's got veterancy, okay,
Yeah.
but perhaps wait a bit longer for the next batch of units.
It's a bit scary as well, like running
But
that.
still, rating pressure.
It's scary running that far behind the French player's town center. If he gets like trapped by that batch of cav and like 5 dragoons popping out, he could potentially find himself in a situation where all of his Uhlans. That in itself is not a scary enough number of Uhlans, and we can see now that the dragoons have been created, he's going to have to hightail it back to his town center. Going to have to wait for an 8 skirmisher shipment, which is going to be.
He hasn't sent.
Yeah,
he sent 1,000 wood.
It's going to, like I was just going to say, it's going to be a pretty long way off, just due to the fact that he did send that 1,000 wood, and as a result, France maybe has a little bit of a timing here where Germany doesn't have any skirmishers. He's just created a barrack, so he is going to be able to start training skirmishers, but he's not going to have a very high count, and with those 10 dragoons on the field, maybe he's going to be able to apply some pressure.
And all those villages as well. Oh, boys, that's not too good. His hunt is quite far out, and this is either going to force a fight to scare off the French player, which he doesn't really want to take. Fortunately, though, actually, just the presence of his cav forced the French player back. It looks like the villager's going to get away reasonably okay, but yeah, even with just 5 skirmishes, it's not really going to be enough. And I feel like those dragoons could just, you know, and really the hussars, just force the skirmishes down real quick.
And maybe the more important thing, the coin mine for the German player just ran out, and he doesn't really have a second coin mine. We can see the first batch of skirmishers are now out. They are going to help push back the dragoons here slightly, but he really needs to be able to secure this front side of his base. If he's not able to do so, he might just lose just right here.
Yeah, but look at he's, you know, well, actually, I say that I guess it's hard to tell because of the colors. Yeah. Oh, the end of the game, the skirmish is really, you know, going down, and 3 cuirassiers in there, power spike, and 1,000 wood really not doing anything. French player had everything stacked in his favor. A really fast, really quick first game here. I feel like perhaps he felt like he skipped on his 700 wood and maybe wanted to send 1,000 wood to make up for that. You know, certainly a better shipment, but the loss of tempo there was really bad considering his hunt was so far forward, and as you mentioned, his coin mine was gone.
Yeah, I mean, and that's maybe a bit unlucky as well. Like if we take a look at Teal's, like at the end of the game, look at where he's got his second coin mine. It's like safely snuggled in the back of his base, versus the German player whose second coin mine is way out front here by the hunt. I mean, arguably the hunt should have been herded, and that shouldn't have been, that shouldn't have been an issue. But either way, like whether he has to secure this coin mine out to the right or secure this coin mine down to the south of his base, like either one of those locations is going to be difficult to defend with kind of the tempo swing that we saw. So a bit unlucky with the map, but at the same time, good play by Dictator to, I guess, dictate the pace of the game once he got into the third age, and just keep things in his favor once he got an advantage.
Yeah, but that does end the first game. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. There are links in the thingy below to skip to the next one, but do stay with us if you want to listen to the sort of downtime in between games. Let's get into this next one.
And this is the time where it's just like complete silence. We have absolutely nothing to say.
Yep.
We're just sitting here picking our noses, like wondering what the hell we should
That does seem to happen in Smackdown. We're just like, it's like where I'm usually like ending my recording, saving it, giving it an appropriate name. No, today I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But oh jeez.
It's because usually like we both have something to do. Like I try and update. Well, I try and update the scoreboard, which
reminds me, I can do that too.
Which sometimes I fail to do, and then I usually like to stroll through the chat a little bit and read and see what's going on, and then we're both just like sitting here and there's just dead silence for like 30 seconds while we just like continue on our own agenda.
that is basically what happens, but we do have a civ change by Dictator. by Black Thought for picking India. Oh, Baja California. Is this?
That's not the next map. Next map is Hudson.
Oh, Hudson Bay. Yeah, we guaranteed Saturday Smackdown maps are Siberia, followed by some form of SAG, which is either Hudson or SAG, and then finally Mongolia. After that, we do get a bit of a variety in the maps. We can pick and choose then, I think. Well, at least, it's up to Zuta, really, but...
We usually just freestyle. We usually just freestyle it from there.
Let me get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 2. Perhaps Black Thought will show us perhaps a bit more Black Thought thinking.
that almost sounded racist.
Yeah, well, yeah. All right, well, there is that. But picking India, he picked first. Picking India. Here he is on the left-hand side of the map in the color orange. And, oh, my screen moved. It does that. The tapir spawn. I was looking if he had enough wood for a 10-10, but I guess that's sort of relevant. It might happen, but certainly not the best thing to do as India. But yes, anyway, the point is here is orange, and his opponent had to pick afterwards Dictator, choosing British against India, which I feel is not one of British's best matchups, certainly shown in the ASC Grand Finals, where H2O played British into India 2 times in a row and lost twice in that best of whatever it was series.
Yeah.
So certainly a matchup the British struggles with, but what do you think? Is this map, is like, I've never really felt SAG is great for hunts. Does it help British?
Yeah, well, so I don't think that this matchup isn't inherently bad for Brits. I think Brits as a civilization are just really, really map dependent. And if you get good hunt spawns with Brits and you have like a situation where you can get like 2 good healthy packs of hunts behind your town, like meaty thick packs of hunts behind your town center, and you can like build longbows and camp behind manors with longbows and lots of hunts, then you're probably going to be okay in almost every matchup. Like, basically, they are a top tier civ when they have hunts. Like, no doubt about it. And this particular map can be a little hit and miss with the hunts. We can see that he does have a fairly good second hunt here with this big patch of moose up to the northwest of his base, and he's also got this second pack of elk down here as well. So I would say that kind of can be qualified as 2 meaty packs of hunts that he has, readily available to him. And as long as he gets those properly herded and is able to deal with the potential pressure that's going to come forward. I mean, we can see that orange here is doing some variation of a 10-10. As long as he has those properly herded, he builds his manors with good reason, meaning that he puts them out front of his base, uses them as a natural barrier to give himself somewhere for his longbows to stand behind, and continues to herd his hunts and control his hunts well. I don't think this is really that problematic of a matchup for Brits. But should he fail to, herd his hunts correctly, should he not put a lot of thought into where he's putting his buildings, make little mistakes, it is a matchup with lots of room for error. And if he makes just even a few errors against the pressure that India can present with a 10-10 type build, it can be you can very easily just snowball out of control and just lose in a heartbeat. So
it could be tough. 10-10 incoming. Black Thought perhaps doing a bit of thought. Certainly in this matchup, the British, a civilization that's weak to pressure, indeed, has the Achilles heel of the early game. And India certainly has a very aggressive, can present a lot of pressure, as you mentioned, with the 10-10 build, very, very fast to see. The age up is super quick. You don't build anything in age. The point is, really fast age up, really fast units. But as you mentioned, if you can just adequately defend, should be okay. I do like his placement of the Agra Fort, sort of near this 95 wood treasure, because could use the Agra Fort to help get that, and obviously wood a really, really valuable resource, especially for India, where their villages cost that. But equally, perhaps it could have been a bit closer to his opponent as well, so that the units coming out of it, being trained and shipped, could arrive sooner. But what do you think?
I wonder if he could have fit it in this spot, like right up here. That's where I probably would have tried to put it. And my guess is he probably can't fit it in there. Combined with kind of the awkwardness of the trading route and that coin mine and how the trees are, there's probably not quite enough space to fit it anywhere in there. But like you did mention, like this is kind of far away. I mean, we can see he's going to be aged up at 4 minutes and 10 seconds, and it's a pretty long rush distance. I mean, the whole idea of 10-10ing is to minimize the rush distance as much as possible, and although the aggro fort here in the middle of the map does kind of accomplish that, at the same time, it probably could have been a bit closer. But also, as we mentioned, like Black Thought or Dictator, like this herd is like still pretty far from his town center.
Yeah, you need to dictate where that herd will be, Dictator.
Yeah, it needs to be very, very safe here, because the pressure is going to get real. I do like the barracks placement. I think that's pretty good. You can see there's kind of like this little natural wall formed here between this house, the barracks, the town center. Even dropping a second barracks. Ooh, I don't know if he's going to have enough resources to produce out of both of those right away. But at the very least, does have good structure, and there's some decent setup here to his base as well. So I think should be okay. But here we can see 5 Sepoy first shipment, and the pressure is about to ramp up very, very
Timing
quickly.
is real. 5 trained, 5 shipped, 2 for free, 12 Sepoy. Though I do feel like they're coming in a little bit late.
Yeah.
I guess that's partly because of the location of the aggro fort, and equally the 10-10 isn't as good when you're starting with coin. Because you don't have you certainly have less villagers, and because you won't have enough wood to train them and like that. But having said that, does come in that house, not going to be going up, but does quickly identify the villagers. Still loses one though, and there's 3 behind here. If he loses all 3 of those, I think this rush paid off.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
That's 4 villagers down. Wow. And not really taking very much damage either. Only managed to get 2 longbowmen out in his first batch, and that's not particularly punishing.
And look at all the idle time he's caused here as well. We can see the villagers popping out back again now, but there was 20-odd villagers in the town center.
Can he kill the 2 longbowmen as well? Just
easily.
Get in, like, that shouldn't happen, but it does.
Yeah. He doesn't have resources to really adequately deal with this. Here comes another batch of longbowmen. 6 musketeers being shipped as well. Going to be able to push back the pressure, but taking a look at the villager count, I mean, it's 21 versus 18. And the rush has paid off at this point. And India can even just transition back into like some sort of boomy build, and I think that's exactly what he's doing. Take a look at back in his base. He's got a consulate coming up, a market. He's shipped 600 wood. Things seem to be fine and dandy in India land, and we can see Brits are, in a state of recovery here. I mean, he's lost so much gather time with his villagers. He's not really been training military units that effectively. Has been forced to ship 6 musketeers, so things
Can he pick up another villager killed? No, he can't. The house sees those units coming in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he's not in that great of a position. I'm just taking a look now at that outpost positioning as well. Didn't even realize that it was down there. I mean, I guess that's maybe a little bit of a mistake. I mean, it's not really protecting much, I guess.
Well, his hunts were there to begin with, and if they backherd perhaps all the way that way, it could be useful. It's still sort of near a coin. I can see perhaps why, but yes, certainly it is questionable.
Yeah. But at the same time, Brits are still Brits. Now, take a look at the hunt remaining in his base, because this is the important part. He's kind of got until this hunt runs out, and until he is going to be forced to secure another hunt, either this hunt or more likely this hunt, to really just kind of boom off the back of this. And we can see he's doing that. Shipped 600 wood. He's getting some manners out. He's got a decent composition here. He's got enough muskets to deal with a potential transition to Sours from the India player. Still making some longbow, which are going to be pretty much the meat of his army here. Going to be able to deal with the Sepoy and Gurkha fairly effectively. And starting to recover his economy ever so slightly. We can see he's back up to 28 villagers versus the now 31 from Black Thought.
Yeah, that 4 shipment from the Ottoman consulate just kicking in there.
Yeah.
And now India, well, 30 to 31. Still very even, but considering India's position, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, India's eco is definitely ahead here, right? He still has the shipment. He's got the wood trickle. He's got slightly better upgrades. We can see he's got hunting eagles. He's got civil servants. He's got blanket filters. So he's got some of his first upgrades. Although at the same time, Dictator does have like steel traps. Is getting his placer mines now, so not too far behind, I guess, in terms of eco. Things are actually probably pretty even, and really what it's going to come down to is unit composition and securing the next hunt. If Brits can successfully secure the next hunt and can continue to get this big mass rolling, get this big meaty group of longbowmen and musketeers established that India can have difficulties dealing with, probably going to be okay, and we'll have to see whether or not Black Thought puts any pressure here moving forward. It looks like maybe with this 4 Sawar shipment that he's going to try and push out here again.
Yeah, looks like that is what he has in mind. But military unit count quite even. What I was expecting was British to, he's built lots of houses and shipped the wood and just really spent all of his resources making his economy. I felt like because of that, India, which I guess the only real sort of falling back, creating economy is his consulate and sending a 300 export. But aside from that, his villages, gets one with a shipment for free. It's not quite as difficult to get those villages in a way. And his army, as a result of that, I thought perhaps would be bigger. Actually, that is the case. 47 military unit population here, but British, not that far behind, and certainly still has access to his Minutemen, and perhaps a batch of units will come out soon.
India's units are so strong here. He needs to be so careful against engaging this, because if he engages this improperly and gets his longbow caught out of position, could die very, very quickly at the hands of the army that Black Thought has right now.
Stable being added in. He identifies that he needs something to do damage versus the Gurkha, which are really quite good. They're going to counter those musketeers, and as a result of that, you see him keeping them at the back. Doesn't want them on the front where they're going to take lots of damage. I imagine Hussars now in queue. But British Hunt about to run out. He's going to have to push. He's going to have to go and secure more Hunt. And if Black Thought identifies that, he can control the fighting around a herd or in the direction of where those villages are going, and perhaps make it quite difficult for the British player to get the food and therefore create units from it.
Yeah. This tower position is going to maybe look semi-genius here coming forward here in the next few minutes, because now it is going to help secure this position down to the south. It is going to help him at least have somewhere for his villagers to run to that's a little bit closer to this herd than the town center would be. But at the same time, the India masses are continuing to swell, and I don't know. It's gonna be tricky to continue to secure hunts, and that's really, Brits Achilles heel. Look at how much hunt he has, or how much food he has available right now. It's not very much.
The timing is real, boys. He's shipped his cavalry combat there. I think here is a pretty good time to be making a fight. Well, not just because he's sort of mid-maxed, but also because this is where British wants his hunt.
Yeah, and we have to remember, look at Brit's economy. It's still not too poor. It's still 45 villagers. He still is okay, and if the game continues to go on, if he's able to add some Hussars, he's actually beginning to gain a fairly high Hussar count. It looks like he's up to about 8 Hussars. And the Brit army is getting scarier, and if Dictator is allowed to continue to press on like this and not really be punished for the position of where he's gathering, Brits are going to get out of control here, especially, imagine a situation where Brit sneaks in like a musket HP card or something like that and doesn't just have to send economic or defensive shipments and is able to actually start
pulled right there as well. Perhaps a little bit premature. Yeah, I think you're right. If he does sneak that in, he's going to be super far ahead. And now that this hunt is, really safe, and they're all collecting, and his army's continuing to grow, and obviously British is still British. Those manors, do create a lot of villages, and that's, exactly what he's done. Perhaps the Indian player has missed his timing, but then equally, perhaps it was never really there. There was always, enough hunt in the British player's base for him to keep going, and then perhaps, British player was able to push out and have the army he needed for that. When they run out. Perhaps India was never really able to control them.
It is difficult to push into any number of longbows in a Brit space, right? And so this is maybe his better chance here now that he's a little bit more exposed.
Ooh, is he going to take it? No, he doesn't want to do that. I thought there he was going to slam the Cav in, but we do have a fight here. The Cav, well, at least Orange's Cav, not really where they want to be.
Yeah.
And here the Longbowman in the back just going to be doing so much damage. And oh, where are they going?
Need to be careful.
No, gets them in, gets his Cav in a nice position-ish. Longbowmen do go back a bit, and they're all safe.
Yeah, Blue in a pretty good position here. The Longbowman being able to do lots of damage just by standing still. The Minutemen not really contributing for the Orange player. And we can also see the Gurkha slightly out of position, taking a lot of damage from the remaining Hussar here in this fight. And all things considered, this is a really, really good fight. The Longbowman just doing so much DPS standing here in the back, shooting. Anytime you're allowed to just stand with your Longbowman like that, really, really good. But still, at the same time, India showing why it's India and how strong just the India forces in Colonial are. Just the sheer strength of Sepoy. So good.
Wow, that fight actually went the way I wasn't expecting it to do. But now really nothing here to stop his Longbowman from being harassed. Those Cav actually sticking back a bit to finish off a Hussar. But now going forward, villagers coming in, perhaps gonna use his Vills there to block the Cav, but doesn't actually happen. But certainly providing a small meat shield. Blackthorpe going to have to be careful here to target the military units and not the villagers, because if those Longbowmen do manage to finish up this army, then British still in the game. But if he can kill the army and then move on to the villagers, which only do 3 damage when they shoot.
Look at those villagers. They're ridiculously large guns. But at the same time, there's not
like he's good.
There's not a lot of food remaining for Dictator. I mean, the spot in the south has run out. He does still have this, which, I mean, he needs to move all those coin villagers. There he moves some of them. He needs to move all of those villagers off of coin and over onto that hunt. He needs to be getting some more hunt here ASAP, because right now he's really running out of food. And I continue to maintain, if the India player with his, middle of the map aggro fort can continue to hold out and deny hunt gathering, the Brit player is going to struggle. This is all the remaining food that the Brit player is going to have until he has to make a stab at something like way down here. And that is going to be a very difficult position. That's going to be, I mean, if we take a look at his composition right now, it's basically just Longbowmen. And Longbowmen don't like to be out in the open where they can get surrounded and where they have to move around a lot. Longbowmen like to just stand still and shoot. And, that's not going to be possible if he's forced to use his whole army down here to the south of the map. So he desperately needs to try and pull together an army, but I don't know. I think the Wonder is the Wonder dropped for Black Thought? No, he's just sunk all of his... Holy crap, he just sunk all those resources into, 10 stars, yeah.
Whoa, look at the military disparity. 70 units for Black Thought population, that is, versus 36. British is... Wow, building a mill in his base has decided that actually...
He can't secure this location with his current army. I mean, he has no anti-cav.
But this is the slow death. Is perhaps a better move to go and take it anyway and just hope that they don't go that way, because, if they do, you've lost, fair enough, that was probably going to happen. But if they don't, you've gotten away with it. But the mill is perhaps the safer option, but the one which will slowly kill you. Mill's really not too good. 400 wood, so expensive, and that gather rate is absolutely abysmal. Is that 700 coin going to be denied as well? Building a wall here, that's pretty good. The Longbowmen are going to be able to stand here. There's no anti-cav, so it has to sort of really do something. Yeah. It's working for the time being, but still, that's a lot of orange units, as I mentioned. 70 population.
They're so upgraded, those cav, as well. Once they get in here and start doing all that 2x, 3x, however x many multiplier it is, it's going to be pretty brutal.
That's game. Black Thought taking the second game, showing us he's not a low bob, as some of the people may have said. And, it's a 1-1. We'll have to see what happens. I'm not sure if there's any betting on this.
Yeah, there is.
You cannot bet now. I didn't bet this week. I totally forgot. Normally I plug that. But it's going to be interesting. I think this is a game that not many people are really going to be able to bet on. People don't know these players. Yeah. You'll have to do your research if you want to.
I just randomly bet on some random 4-2 outcome. I don't even remember on which player I bet. I just bet on one of them in a 4-2 outcome.
Oh, but that is the end of the game. British not managing to take enough hunt, and Black Thought, almost called him Black Star there. Fairly convincing and perhaps surprising 10-10 aggression into economy behind it. I'll take a look at the post game, but don't go anywhere. Next game coming up in just a moment. By the way, you can skip in the if you're watching this as a VOD. The thingies are in the description below.
One thing we maybe didn't mention as well was a coin start as well. So that makes it more difficult for the India 10-10 to be super successful, just due to the fact that he's going to be down that extra villager and stuff as well. So yeah, I don't know. Well played by him. I mean, he the good thing is he had a good, strong economic follow-up. So many times you'll see a player play India and they'll 10-10 and then they won't there won't be any sort of economic follow-up. They'll just 10-10 and they'll send 5 sepoy and they'll send 4 sours and then they'll have 12 villagers at 7 minutes and it's oh well, I guess I'm dead because I just don't have any eco. The follow-up was still good from Black Thought, which is the important part, and as a result was able to kind of maintain that aggression and apply continued pressure and not just have the one push in where he gets 4 villagers. Sure, that's great, but then to be able to continue to follow it up with continued aggression and continuing to apply pressure and continuing to control the map, that's the important part, and that's the thing that makes India very, very difficult to deal with.
Yep, India a good civ, but as India a good civ. We've got Mongolia next. India a good civ on Mongolia. It's perhaps one of the strongest civs on Mongolia. The amount of cows there is astronomical, and you don't need a lot of hunt, which there aren't very many of on Mongolia, so India not really finding that an issue. Other civs might. Black Thought cannot play it. He's just used it up. Dictator, however, can. He's clicked in as India. He's yep, time's up. Let's do this.
He knows what he wants.
India.
He knows
now
what
Black
he
Thought
wants.
forced to choose a civilization in response to this. He has to pick Wait. Yes, he does. No. He has to pick first. But Dictator doesn't even care. He's just going to pick India.
I mean, we've seen that pretty often.
So he's already picked. He doesn't have to pick yet. He can still change. But he's ready. This guy.
He knows what he wants.
Yup. No messing around. India or Mongolia. Let's go. I don't even care what civ you're going to play. Do it.
Bring it on.
I'm interested to see what he does pick. What are your options here? Germany has been used, I believe, by him, so that sort of timing, which I think is good against India.
Russia.
Not available. Russia. All right.
He's going with the random number generator strategy.
What do you mean?
Well, apparently he wanted he said pick a random number, and I'm assuming I'm assuming he just went to that one city in his
Is
list.
that his game plan? Yeah. He's just all right, we'll pick this civ as number 8.
Pick a random.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Saturday Smackdown. This is game number 3 in a best of 7 series between Black Thought and Dictator. The score is currently 1-1. We do have a fairly interesting civilization strategy selection choice here. Russia being chosen not by his thought, which may or may not be black. His name is Black Thought. Actually being just chosen by straight up RNG, as you may have said, random number generator, indeed. Just letting his opponent actually pick his civ. Perhaps could have used that in his favor. I don't really think he knew what he was on about. But the point is, Russia has been selected versus his opponent on the right-hand side of the map in the color cyan. I didn't say teal this time, Zuta.
Cyan.
Yeah, playing as India. A very strong civilization on this map, namely because of the large amount of cows, of which he has secured 2 already, and indeed his scouts are securing more 2 there with the trapped, the native Mongol scout, who is no longer trapped. He once was. That is no longer the case.
And it's interesting that he's trapped in that little hut, right next to your town center.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where the horse was. It literally must have been in the tower because you can't see it.
Yeah. Well,
I've thought about this
maybe the guy was in the tower, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Where was his horse?
I don't know where his horse was.
Bring up a picture of that treasure on Google. Like, okay, never mind.
Maybe it was like buried underground, and he like sprung it free or something. There's a trap door, and like he gets freed, and he like swings open the trap door and frees his horse.
And then gets on his way. So and then runs around the map looking for yaks. That's his, secret. Oh, it's the ZutaZuta strategy.
The ZutaZuta strategy. Screw this. I'm deleting them.
Wow, look at the amount of yaks he has picked up. 9 yaks compared to his opponent's 2, and there are only 4 left on the map, or actually 6, though these 2 are very safe. They're effectively greens, but essentially 4 left to fight over.
Ooh.
And he's still very favoured to get them. What's going on?
He picked
more deaths, yak deaths.
This is what I like to see. Dead yaks everywhere.
The cow hacks is not real.
The ZutaZuta strategy. Screw this, I'm deleting them. Look at these guys back here. I just noticed as well. They're training. There's some like disciples up here training. I just saw that they're like kicking. Now they're talking about what they were training. But let's see if they go back to training. And what's up with the dude on the steps as well? Like he's
observing. He's
observing.
He's the invigilator who makes sure the teacher is doing his job.
Yeah, there they go again. There they go again. Look at them. There they go. No, they're gonna reconvene.
They're discussing what they learned from that brief spell. Wow, there is that. Our commentary, insightful as always. But there is that. Both players going to be aging up pretty soon. Almost have 800 food each. Still waiting on that. Actually, the yaks, not too bad in Green's favor. Did manage to pick up a few and delete them. There are... Oh, no, they're dead. They're not. I went over here. They're dead. It looks like on the minimap they're alive, but they are not. But this matchup, Zua, India versus Russia, my first thoughts are that India is just stronger than Russia.
This is a brutal matchup, honestly.
Russia certainly not that high up in good speed's tier list, so to speak.
And particularly in this map, like Russia's another civ that needs a fairly high amount of food to be good, and so much of what Russia is good at is like applying pressure and denying hunts to other civilizations. If you take a look at like a matchup like Brit versus Russia or something like that, where the Russian player can kind of play like we saw the India player play last game, where it's like very aggressive, controlling the hunts and just slowly starve out your opponent and like build an advantage that way. Really, really good. But if we take a look at...
Here we go, 90 wood.
We've
got a while before that dies.
Nope.
Oh, no, we don't.
Sniped it. Attack him! It annoys me when people don't do that. Like, you have like a 10% chance of just straight up stunning the Russian explorer, and when you have both of your scouts there,
especially with both of them.
Yeah, it's a pretty good chance that you'll get a stomp and we'll be able to stop it.
That's exactly what Russia needs, though. 90 wood. Yeah. Certainly, he just needs all the help he can get in this matchup. Shall we talk about a bit why Russia is perhaps...
Yeah, well, so what I was mentioning was previously is like what Russia needs to be able to do is apply pressure, deny hunts, and have good efficient trades. And if you think about what India is doing right here, he's not super hunt dependent because his villagers train with wood and he has wood trickles and doesn't need as much food in general to be effective as a lot of civs do. His resources are going to be difficult to pressure just due to the fact that he's got this great big old fort sitting basically on top of his coin mine, which is 5,000 coin. He's not going to have to leave his base for coin whatsoever, nor for trees for that matter.
And he does actually have berries in the back, and as useless as they are, it's still 4,000 food just sitting there.
And then at the same time, like India's units are very, very strong, and because they're so strong, like that trading efficiency style isn't as effective because India's units are just so strong. It's just so hard to kill them that you may very easily overstay your welcome taking damage from like the Agrifort town center and stuff like that, while they're very beefy Sepoy just take your damage and don't really care. I mean, look at Sepoy, 190 hit points. That's ridiculous.
They are more expensive than traditional musketeers, costing a fair bit more food and 5 extra coin, but they are very strong, as you mentioned there. But yeah, Russia gonna struggle. They need to, as you mentioned, the early pressure there. Certainly, what Russia aims to do a lot of the time, and as we discussed, actually quite difficult for all of those different reasons. The other style that, well, we see cities like Germany go with is that Fortress Age timing pressure. But as Russia, starting with only 5 villages and not having a 3 villager shipment, and just having units that all have to be upgraded, all of them. The only one that you don't have to upgrade is the cavalry archer, but that's
really, really not.
That's not an option that's open to them. They like to play long drawn out colonial games, which is what he's going to do. Probably his best option, but going to be very tough. Oh wow, Gurkhas. I'm just looking at this. The units that they've selected. Oh no, that's not good. Doesn't even pick up a villager there. There were some just chilling out on the side, but Gurkha, obviously the counter to Musketeers.
And one thing I really like about what Dictator's done here is he's identified that his opponent is going with a slower build. I mean, he probably hasn't explicitly scouted that there's, it was a 700 wood, 2 blockhouse type build. But what he does know is his opponent did create a trading post, which means, I mean, if you think about it, the ability for him to build a trading post and build a blockhouse and get out units without being housed is going to be fairly difficult. And so instead of worrying about some sort of pressure against his hunt on the north side of his base, he's just shipped 600 wood, continued with a very economic build, has his consulate up, has a market up, really good infrastructure, even has a stable already started, and even just snuck in a trading post of his own. Just going to be able to continue to power up and be able to deal with any potential timing push when it does come. And now that the 5 Cossack shipment has arrived, it's showing that Black Thought is probably thinking about gearing up and pushing in, but Dictator's going to be perfectly equipped to deal with the timing pressure whenever it does come. He's got good upgrades, has a very smartly built base, and as a result of all of this, going to be very, very difficult to crack this shell that he's put up around himself.
Yep. When you were mentioning the stable, I think I was looking at the wrong one, but that's not the point. Yeah, Russia choosing to play a bit slower, perhaps with the 700 wood start, 2 blockhouses. You're not really going to be able to use both of them simultaneously until a bit later on in the game. But playing a bit slower, going to be timing colonial pressure. But equally, as we've been saying, India. Well, especially with now that 4 villages have arrived from the Ottoman consulate, matching the slowness, and India, as you can see, has significantly more villages at this point. Though Black Thought does have quite a large army in terms of population, though we have to remember all of these units are not as strong for their pop.
And there's just a range advantage as well as the Gurkhas. And I mean, so much stuff can come out here. We can have 2 sets of Minutemen and the Consulate Minutemen, plus maybe even that group of Hussars. So, India can pull together a lot of stuff. And there we see the European Minutemen called, and it's probably going to be enough just to force back the green player.
Yeah, though 4 extra cav do join the fray from the shipment, and indeed what he has trained as well. Cavalry is what he needs against the Gurkha, because he does not have a unit at all that has enough range to even fight those. So there is he needs cav to deal with those effectively. Those are going to be quite effective against his musketeers. But it doesn't look like he's wanting to push in there. Ought to do it soon, having just sent 2 military shipments back to back. But actually, when Black Thought's Dictator's army is, with Minutemen sitting there, perhaps doesn't really want to.
Dictator also
have to do something soon.
Dictator also has a lot of unspent resources. I'm not sure if he's saving to age, which I think he actually probably is saving to age. But at the same time, he's got the infrastructure available to him that if there was a scary enough force pushing its way in, he could just drop all those resources into units. He is going to be saving to age, and this does make me slightly nervous. There's going to be a very small timing window where the Russian player can potentially just sprint underneath his opponent's base. And cause some fairly catastrophic damage. We'll have to see whether or not he identifies this now that, he's seen the army. He sees the army's really not that big, and importantly enough, he sees the Taj Mahal being created as well. So,
does that signal go time? It does. He's decided to push forward. This could be where things happen that perhaps not necessarily should. He's invested 2,200 resources into not making military units. Look at the disparity between their armies. If If he can push in here and really cause some damage, or force the villagers away, maybe even catch those units before he's aged up. This is where he's very vulnerable, and this could be very scary for Dictator.
Yep. At the same time, though, like there can still be a lot of stuff popping out soon. He'll have the resources to send the Cav consulate units.
Yeah, that's true.
And he still does have, both sets of Minutemen available from the town center as well. So
that's true, but yeah, and he's fighting under an aggro fort and a town center. And that's certainly not in his favor either. We'll have to see how this plays out. The Cav though are in a good position. At least some of them get up against these Gurkha. Not very many anti-Cav. Well, in that batch, aside from a couple of Sepoy, which are not being used in hand combat. There are a couple of Zambaraks doing some damage there. Looks like though Green just powering through, whilst Teal tries to kite back.
Yeah,
unfortunately, it's going very well for Black though.
Unfortunately, Teal didn't ungarrison his villagers during that. He could have put 8 villagers while all that was going on back onto the Taj Mahal and had basically that bad boy finished right now. And do remember that once he gets aged up, he will have the ability to use the Taj Mahal active, and it looks like he's trying to desperately gather some food, which to me signals like he's trying to get resources together to get up enough stuff to ship your army, which are going to be fairly effective at dealing with this. He's probably going to lose
fairly effective. Yes, yeah. They will be brutal, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it.
Yeah, well, he'll be able to buy himself quite a bit of time with the Taj Mahal. I mean, that's several seconds that he's going to get back, but he didn't put any more villagers on it, which is probably a mistake in itself, just because now he's going to have to wait that extra time. And he might just lose the town center.
Wow, he could though, but still, he's going to get up. It does build itself. Ceasefire comes out, but is 18 seconds enough? Actually, it does take 30 seconds to send a shipment, so providing he sent it, let's take a look. How much XP does he have?
I saw his food drop. So
he has queued something, the shipment perhaps.
Yeah.
Or quite likely. Well, do you think leaving is a good idea? I suppose so. I mean, the shipment is going to arrive, and you don't really have the opportunity to kill the town center. Perhaps you could hang around and kill a house.
He doesn't want to get stuck behind the town center for a windier and potentially come out. Dictator's economy still is pretty good. He hasn't lost a lot of villagers during all this, so one good Urumi pop and things could go. Use them, fight! They're in such a good spot.
Well, okay, and there's a Howder in training as well, but I don't know how long it is. Yurumi here, 20 damage times 1.8, area 1, really effective against heavy infantry. But they are actually dropping very, very quickly. I just expected them to do perhaps more damage. The Cav mixed in here, definitely really, really good for Black Thought. If they were not there, these Yurumi would brutally tear through the Musketeers.
Well, we also have Boyers and the Age 1 Team Cavalry Scouts sent as well, so the unit composition is really, really strong for the Russian.
Veterancy, effectively. His Strelitz Cavalry, very, very strong at this point, yep. 2 Howders arrive.
It's not going to be enough, though. I think the Russian players got enough just to kind of continue to power his way through.
They are really quite strong, but I think you could just send your Cav at them and just brute force them all down. A third one does, pop out of the stable there, but now that there's 3 of them and he hasn't swamped them, it's actually that they do 72 damage a pop times 3 effectively versus cavalry.
I think he's just going to lose the TC and all of his vills to the Cossacks. There's enough infantry from Black Thought here just to keep him at bay. He doesn't even need to actually be engaging the Howdas. He just needs to be buying himself enough time to get the town center down, which I think he's going to be able to do.
Wow, Black Thought sent fencing school as well. I'm just thinking though, is it possible that, I don't know, did he send his military units? Has he got a shipment about to arrive? Has he got units in queue?
He's got a Stratiot in queue.
A Stratiot?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a monastery in the back. Perhaps that was the only save resource he
had. Unbelievable. He's held. This is a mistake, I think. Wow. I think Black Thought should have just continued to siege this down.
Power down. Yeah. Then he'd have no town center.
No more shipments.
If that had gone down a little bit sooner, those 8 skirms would never have arrived, and this would be a totally different game. But these 3 Howder in the back, have just been sitting there popping out 72 damage here and there, and now that the 8 skirms are here, he's whittled the force down a bit, and now has a reasonable amount of military units.
Yep. These Howdas are going to be so difficult to try and kill as well. We can see Black Dot's a long ways off from aging, and with just the range discrepancy. I mean, one of the biggest things that sucks about Australia is their range discrepancy. They're not a very good ranged unit, especially when like compared to like skirmishers or something like that. They just have so little range, and Howda's really like abusing that fact right now. And I don't know if he gets out like another 1 or 2 Howdas and gets the upgrades. He's got disciplined upgrade for his Gurkhas. I mean, his army is, although very small, very, very, very powerful.
Yeah, and Ottoman cavalry incoming as well in the improvements. They will be here very shortly, and that adds to his force. And I think there they are.
Yeah.
But still, there's a lot of green population.
It's true.
It's gonna be, I don't know, like if the Gurkha's gonna get swamped very quickly by the cav here, but those Howdahs, you just can't ignore how strong they are versus cavalry. So the cavalry even getting back here, but still, is it gonna be enough? The Howdahs are strong, but I guess really only against cavalry, and they have a lot of hit points. But if the skirmishers go down,
yeah. At the same time, decent control here by Dictator. He's done a pretty good job of like keeping as much of his stuff alive for as much as possible. Green is just kind of swarming in here, though, and I think it's just might be too much. Like this is where Russia really shines, just like being up in your face and being like, you know what, I don't care if my units suck. Like I've got enough of them that it just doesn't matter. And
do they suck there? They got boys.
Yeah, I mean they suck less now with the
at this point they are less sucky. Yeah, but your point still stands. This is exactly what Russia wants, right?
Yeah, it's still like he's taking so much damage from the Howdahs, and well, now 3 Mahouts here. He might be able to chase this down.
Here we go. 3 Howdah pop. They are expensive as hell. Perhaps
he's chasing them down. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
I think that's absolutely the right thing to do. They have a fairly reasonable amount of speed, being a cavalry unit. Area 2, 33 times 2 damage. These infantry are toast. He needs.
He resigns.
He resigns right there. Doesn't even take it.
Oh my god! I can't believe Dictator.
The swing.
Look at that.
Like, he went from a position of, yeah, he should win, just based on the matchup, to, oh wow, he could lose right here, to win it. I mean, 6 units just won him the game. Like, literally 3 Howdahs and 3 Mahouts won him. Oh my! I so want to take a look at the thing. Where is it? The kill to loss ratio.
It's gonna be insane.
Units killed 78 for Russia. Units lost 159. All right. Units killed 164. Units lost 67.
Well, I'm sure if you look at the graph, like the military population graph, like look at how military unit population. Look at
count
will be even more brutal.
This.
Yeah.
Look
at that. Look.
But it's the same.
Yeah. It basically is like look at like 13 minutes. Like, well, I guess that's when the army come. But then, like, at 14 minutes, where he's got 5 units, it's like he's got, I think, like 2 Gurkhas and 3 Howdahs or something like that. And look at how much damage he does to his opponent's army, just, like, with those 5 units, like, over the course of that long, extended, like, minute and a half, basically, of fighting. He's able to whittle down so many units from his opponent. Wow. And I mean, for people wondering, like, is this game over? It's maybe not over, but I mean, it's going to be tough. Like, all of this infantry is definitely going to die. We can see there's 6 more Gurkhas, it looks like, following this up. There are still the 3 Howdahs as well. And the infantry is caught in snare by these 3 Mahouts, which are all at basically still full
times
HP.
2. Versus, actually, it's actually times half versus, so they're not actually that effective against the musketeers here. There's quite a lot of them.
It's
just so in hand combat, they would be effective. These are cavalry, but still, these are very strong units. 1,100 hit points. They are effectively Mamelukes, perhaps not quite as good, but in the back there, you have got quite a few units, some of which are Gurkha, which are very good against musketeers. It doesn't look favorable for the green player, especially when you consider that he's behind on population, and these units aren't as good as other units for their population cost. Though, to Blackthorn's favour, does have significantly more villagers, but India up in entire age and has far superior units. I think India has decisively won this match.
Yeah, and I go back to like what I was saying earlier. Imagine if Russia just sacks this whole army to pull down the town center before those Mahouts get out, before that 8 Gurkha shipment gets out, before like any of those very strong units get out. Sure, he probably loses his whole military there, but there is no Mahout shipment. There is no like follow up with Gurkhas or anything like that. Like the economy, and he probably kills a bunch of villagers too, because he had like 10 Cossacks sieging the TC at that point as well. So it probably would have been a different game. Dictator wouldn't have been able to continue to power up his eco or have any shipments or anything like that. But Russia would have had a distinctly smaller army. But with the way that Russia has control of the map right now, or at that point, it probably wouldn't have mattered. Maybe it would have been a better choice, is all I'm saying, is to siege down the TC. But wow, what a game. That was a fun one.
That was a fun one. Definitely could have been different, as you mentioned. And could have been different in other ways as well. Perhaps if he'd not chosen to age at the point that he did. And could have been a lot safer that way too. But that is the end of the game. You can skip to the next one using the links in the description. Otherwise, you're here for the downtime in between. The score is currently 2-1 in Dictator's favor.
True
that. Right?
Yep.
True dat. Okay,
That's,
that confirms to me. Let me update my scoreboard. I think this is the correct one. It is. Absolutely. Zuta, what do you think of the next map? What are we going to see?
Honshu question mark? No.
I have Honshu, if it comes down to it. Or should we really showcase the British mirror? Oh!
The British mirror on Honshu.
It's happening!
I'm going to be right back. I'll let you celebrate here for a moment while I run to check on something quick.
Alright, cool. Oh, it's happening, guys. We've been pushing for this for a long time, the Honshu game. I think it's finally all falling into place. We thought it would be Azamp vs Maito, which is a matchup that has happened several times in Saturday Smackdown, but instead Black Thought and Dictator fill in that role. Both players look fairly happy to play on Honshu, and this is certainly a moment to celebrate. I think this is something we're all like, yeah, it's happening, it's gonna be good. But equally, it's going to be one of those games where it's fun to watch once, and then I feel like we'll probably never want to see it again, because there's a reason high-level players dislike this map. It's a massive water map. Perhaps that'll be fun for once, but equally there just aren't any hunts on this map. It's just barren. It is a barren wasteland. In fact, there are hunts on not the island. In fact, there are lots of little islands, and there are hunts on the small island. So perhaps we'll see villagers going into boats and heading on down to little islands to gather hunt, which could be really fun. This reminds me of Indonesia, which is a brand new map by Gaia, which is similar to Honshu in the sense that it's a small island in the center, surrounded by ocean, and has lots of small islands with pockets of resources on it as well. Perhaps we will see that map today. It has not been featured on Saturday Smackdown yet. So maybe we will see, well, certainly we will see some of Gaia's maps today as well. Brand new maps. Just waiting for Zuta to come back, and then we can begin. But looks like both players have clicked in as British for this matchup.
We're going to do this.
We're doing it.
We're going to do this. All right, let's do it. Good news as well. Work has fixed itself in the time that I was gone. So
splendid.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to check on that. The second I saw him click on Honshu, I'm like, do I have time to take the next 90 minutes of my life and watch a water fight? And I think the answer is yes. So with that, I will crack my celebratory Diet Coke and watch the madness unfold.
Wonderful. That is good. For those of you who do not know what Zuta is talking about, because I don't think it is included in the VOD, Zuta is I don't know, in charge. It's like some sort of like supervise. I don't know, but it's a Saturday. I don't know. Zuta's got a job that I would not desire.
It's a Saturday and I'm supposed to be working, but instead I'm playing Age of Empires 3.
Come to think of it, you definitely have a job that I wouldn't desire. But no, that's largely because I cannot script a single line of code, and that would not be very useful. that skill set would probably not be Why are we not beginning? Green up, Zuta. That will encourage Black Thought.
Yes.
There we go. Wow, that happened. Like that was okay. Well, the game is beginning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Saturday Smackdown. HONSHU. We have it. We've been pushing for it. For those of you who did just skip to this game, hello. We were talking about this. You want to go back? What the hell? What the hell is this? What? All right. I think
there's some weird noise that happens.
Flying purple tapir.
Yeah.
Oh,
interesting. And I just got 8 shipments.
I got it dropped 8,000 XP. Is what just happened there. I have 12 shipments.
This is dumb. This is like this. There's no point in playing this.
Yeah, it's because that was fairly. That was well. Did you? No, you didn't delete them, did you?
No, I didn't do anything.
No. I think what happened there is A's may have used tapir, the flying tapir, rather than the normal tapir to make the map work. But when it died, it gave everybody XP, and that obviously gave them a lot of XP.
It gave us like so many shipments.
I'm not sure if this is the version of HONSHU that A's gave me. We will double check. HONSHU might still go ahead.
Do you have a different version?
So
is this the different one? Is this a different one than the one you have?
I don't think so. Well, I think.
Oh, well, he's saying that's the one that A's gave him as well.
Right, let me add him. Well, we'll see what happens. Maximum friends. Sorry, 36 Drew, you're being removed from my friends list. And he did sign in once. If you check his game time, 36 Drew, another popular caster from back in the day, he has signed in since the glory days. I said I liked his videos, and he said, thanks. And I said, you should come back and make some more. And he said, no, I can't have time. But he said it was very nostalgic to... Oh, crap, I don't have it installed.
That guy's got like he's got a busy real life as well. I think he's like a teacher, and last time I chatted with him, he was having some health troubles as well. So probably doesn't have time to play Age of Empires. All things considered, absolutely.
But he is not what inspired me to make videos, but is definitely someone I idolized when I started out. What actually inspired me to make videos is I wanted to make videos about my favorite game, and I don't know if anyone knows, but RuneShark are to this day my favorite YouTubers. RuneShark videos, which is why my channel is Interjection videos. I emulated what they did, but for the game that I'm passionate about. They are what inspired me.
Ooh, this is a different version of a map. Indonesia. Oh, I haven't seen this map.
I think I'm going to push for trying with HONSHU one more time. The XP issues didn't happen previously.
Oh, really? Have you seen a
He's tested
game?
it, he says.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's necessarily with players in it. But if it happens again, we will just not bother, and we will obviously have to do a different map. Unfortunately, it was totally fine, except the tapirs were annoying AF. Don't delete them, whatever you do, because clearly that's not a good thing to do. Yeah. But, ladies and gentlemen, tapping back in, for those of you who didn't watch what was going on, do go and watch that. It was quite funny, quite interesting. The map might have some issues. We're hoping it doesn't happen again. Don't die. Don't die.
Not even gonna look at them. Don't look at them.
All right, let's go away. The flying tapirs, they're scary.
Don't breathe on them.
Don't go near them either. They're very noisy. Looks like it's fine.
Oh, yes.
Hey! HONSHU back on, everyone. Oh, it's happening. Last time, if you did skip it, these died, and they give apparently. I'm gonna go check how much. I'm not even gonna select it. That might be the issue.
Don't even look at it. Just like
I'm not. Let's just go. They're very noisy. They sound like a motorbike.
Yeah, they do. They're very noisy.
Yeah. I think, well, A's clearly had to use a unit. He had to put a unit in the game to keep us in the game, the observers. Obviously, we're not playing. Normally, he does that with an invisible tapir These ones, clearly because it's a water map, are flying, but also this map is a gimmick map that we'll never see play out of this probably one time because I pushed for it so hard and the players are actually happy to play it this time, which is fun. Maybe it's a bit of fun, I don't know, maybe it was some... Anyway, the point is they give 8,000 kill XP and the players got 12 shipments each, which is not ideal at the beginning of a game in a competitive RTS. There is that. We do, though, however, have early docks from both players. You start with a dock wagon. Yeah. It is madness. You also start with 2 fishing ships, which do actually provide access to the herds, which apparently are not on... Oh, there are herds on this island.
Weird.
The giant salamanders that randomly spawn on this island. Like, they sometimes come into play once these initial herds run out. There is nothing on this map. Aside from just random berry bushes everywhere. But let's introduce the players and let Zuta say something. We do have, in the left of the map, in the colour teal, playing as the British dictator, starting with an early market, and indeed putting his 2 fishing boats to work, because the extra food is, well, really quite good. In fact, they do change your build a bit, because they give you the extra food, you can do stuff differently, and we'll have to age up a bit sooner. It can be kind of awkward. But, yeah, both players plan as British, as you can see, but Blackthought not choosing to go at the market.
Yeah, the last time I think I even loaded this map up, it was probably like 6 years ago, and I was probably still playing like offline. Like I don't even know what to expect. I have never played I don't think I've ever played a 1v1 on this map, and it's mostly because I in general despise playing water, and I don't even know what to expect on this map. Like, obviously, there's not a lot of hunt on this map. We can take a look at both players' hunts. There's not a lot of hunt. And so one of 2 things will happen. Someone will either play very aggressively.
Ooh, 85 wood contention. Looks like he's going in for it. Who's going to pick it up? Looks like I don't even know.
Dictator got it. Dictator definitely got it.
There, he got it then. Okay. Yeah. I'm always... Yeah, well, there's that. 85 wood in Dictator's favour. That's really helpful, considering he already has that market down. Easy steel traps.
Yeah. So as I was saying, like on this map, I think either someone will play very aggressively, which as Black Thought is moving 2 villagers all the way across the map, and like it will be very easy for Dictator to be like, hey, like it's this weird map, and I'm just gonna cut corners, send 700 wood, build 6 docks, and build 1 billion fishing boats, and then 30 muskets show up and siege down your town center, and you maybe lose. You don't still necessarily lose because there's so much water. Like maybe you make a great escape to the north side of the map or something. I don't know. Something weird happens. Or both players just opt to like play super all-out water war type builds. But it looks like Black Thought at least is going to ramp up the pressure, and I think Dictator is opting for the more like I'm going to cut corners and make 1 million fishing boats strategy. We'll have to see. I'm curious to see whether or not Dictator will like sneak in any sort of water card here first, like whether or not he drops schooners instead of 700 wood.
It's interesting as British when booming with water because you want to build manors, but equally docks and fishing ships cost that too. Second dock does go down. Looks like he has intentions of... There it is. Here we go. The boat boom is real. Schooners has arrived, decreasing the cost of his fishing ships by 60%. They cost 40 wood. It is an insane card, but...
I think it's just going to cost him the game, though, because like there's...
Yeah, the thing is, like, the other shipment you could send is 700 wood or 700 of another resource, which is absolutely a lot and pays off so much quicker than the fishing ship card does.
Yeah, and look at how many fishing boats he's already got in queue. He's just queuing up so many fishing ships. And Black Thought behind this is basically just playing it completely normal. Like, sure, he's built the dock that you get for free, and he's got the 2 extra fishing boats. Fine and dandy, giving him a little bit of extra food, but... he's still basically just continuing with what I would consider a normal colonial agenda. He's got a forward Rex, forward outpost, very smartly placed along the water here, cutting off kind of this choke point, I guess you could call it, in the water where his opponent would maybe be wanting to fish. And Dictator's going to know what he's up against now that the muskets have shown themselves. And
what is that tower doing? I guess it's defending the 2 potential hunt spawns that could be herded onto it, but equally it's not in his base. It's going to be... rather awkward because it kind of needs that against the pressure. I do think Black Thought's strategy is good, sticking to what he knows, that the meta game, currently, irrespective of the map, this is a safe thing to do. But equally, there's not a lot of hunts on Honshu. Is there enough before they run out and Dictator just wins because he has an alternative source of food?
Yeah,
we'll see.
Maybe. He did get out 5 muskets here.
And he does take out 2 musks, really 3 musks almost, really quite nicely whilst he was there with sieging the house. Now, as a result of that, Blue cannot take that fight. Looks like Dictator is okay for the time being.
For the time being, he does have up a second dock. He has curbed his all-out aggression on the water here slightly. We can see that as I say that, I flash over to the queue, and he's got 4 fishing boats in queue. They're just so cheap, I guess. Now that he sent those cards.
They're so much better than building manors at this point. I think you only build manors for population here. Like fishing boats gather, I think they do gather at the same speed as villagers. They cost 40 wood, which I believe is probably about. I'm not sure how much food that is in equivalent.
Well, it's not like he's sunk in resources into like steel traps or something like that either, right? So it allows him to skip some market upgrades, and he can just continue to power on up with docks. And we can see here comes another. Balls to the walls. Let the dock game begin. And
Gaia in the chat. 14 dock semi-fast Imperials.
Yeah. Make no mistake, like. This game will very quickly get out of hand in Dictator's favor if Black Thought can't like apply he needs to be able to do something like very, very soon. We can already see Dictator up to 42 villagers. That number's just going to continue to grow. And it's not like Black Thought's got some insane eco or something going behind this. Only has himself hunting dogs. No real great upgrades. Looks like 2 caravels are going to come and try and disrupt some of the pressure over here on the water. And maybe that'll be enough to prompt a response from his opponent. We'll have to see.
Those fishing boats heading directly towards. I mean, there is a safe option sort of nearer the docks. Well, but there's not really very many fish. There's a couple of octopus over this side. Perhaps the town centre could deal some damage here. But for the time being, these boats are vulnerable next to these docks. Docks? Oh, wow. Next to Mayflower and Elizabeth. Looks like they're going to be garrisoned in this dock here. But still, that's a lot of idle time. And you think how many villages these fishing boats represent on their economies that we can see where my cursor is. 41 and 48. It's a lot of idle time.
Certainly is. And we do have to take note of the shipment order here as well. Dictator did send 600 wood and doesn't have another shipment quite available to him. So probably has one sending right now, would be my guess, due to the fact that the XP levels are indicative that that's what he should have sending. And probably has 2 caravels sending of his own right now. But until those get there, like these fishing ships are going to be a bit hard-pressed to find area to really gather. We can see they're just kind of...
villagers going down, not too good. Can he do the H2O Pro split?
Yeah,
Looks like he can.
He did a pretty good job there.
Killing some more villagers. Every villager is effectively idle. Look at those fishing boats doing nothing, and the villagers that are actually villagers collecting, well, coin, which I'm not sure how useful that is to him. A very limited amount of food.
He's got the caravels though. He built a caravel and sent 2, so he guarantees himself the better caravel army. And at the same time, he does have a decent number of muskets here, picking up a few muskets, calling Minutemen, so should be able to clean up these caravels that are working away at his fishing ships. And I think he should be fine here to be able to push back on land here as well. And that'll really start to get his water eco powering back up again. And if he can control this water effectively without taking too many losses here in terms of fishing boats, should be able to be okay.
Get wrecked, Minuteman. Anyway, back to the water. Yeah, he just doesn't want to go in there at all. Using the boats fairly effectively to pressure the boats whilst they were, not next to caravels. Yeah. But now these 2 fishing ships getting out of here, and that shipment is now effectively redundant. They cannot do anything. They're not going to pressure anything at all unless the fighting does somehow end up happening next to the land. Looks like Blue is now going to transition into the water himself. Perhaps that is, his only option, really, if he wants to keep up, but also if he just wants to have food in general. I mean, there is food on these islands over here. You can transport some villagers over, but in the long term, this is, I think, a good decision. But,
I think he's planning on just fighting water. I don't think he's planning on actually, like, transitioning to a water boom. I think he's planning on trying to control the water.
Yeah, could be I think actually that you're probably right. I mean, you're not going to catch up at this point.
Yeah.
Your opponent is further ahead of you. You need to use what you have, which is a superior army, and
Yeah,
perhaps
and
create some votes.
he does have musket attack scent as well. So like his army is vastly superior, and if you can continue to control the maps, control Dictator's mass, and not allow him to like.
Does it increase siege damage? That I suppose it does. It affects all form of damage.
Is
right?
it?
I don't know. Let's check. Well, it affects grenadiers, so
Yeah.
changes all action damages. It does indeed affect. I would assume. It does take out the market. Does take out what I presume was a Rax.
Yeah, it gives him a 3 extra siege. Interesting. Learn something new. And Dictator continuing just to power away. We can see he's sent Rendering Plant, the 25% gather upgrade. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, though. Like,
No, he's got both musket upgrades behind this, and hasn't got Minutemen anymore. Yeah, there's a town center there, but his his Musketeer army is vastly inferior in terms of numbers and upgrades. I feel like Blackthorn should just slam in and fight that.
Yeah, especially now that he's got all this huge upgrade advantage. Like, he needs to just realize
Perhaps
that his...
waiting for these to join the fight, and then
Yeah.
we'll go back in, is what he is up to. But yeah, go ahead.
At the same time, we've got the caravel pressure starting up here again. And meanwhile, Chatham, Christopher, and Chatham are just fishing away, not overly bothered that their brethren are taking some severe damage over here.
I'm not quite sure. Like, well, to be fair, there aren't any people on those boats. They somehow like helm themselves.
Yeah, ghosts,
but if there were, they would be like Mayflower and Elizabeth. They need to.
They're like, oh crap, we need to do something. Aboard, boys.
Like just these humble fishing boats just gathering away. Oh, wait a minute. The Imperial
getting
army is just
shelled.
right offshore and not really. Meanwhile, whilst we're blabbering away, we do have a fight on top of this player's town. So a Dictator takes the resign. Looks like playing a bit differently on the Honshu. But turns out perhaps sticking to what you know is perhaps the best outcome, unless your name specifically begins with an A and ends with a K. I still want to see Azamp vs Mizo on this map. I don't even care. It was fun. It was interesting.
It was interesting.
Equally...
It wasn't a 50-minute game, and I mean, so this map, right? It doesn't have a lot. It doesn't have like a way for the water to influence you from the middle of the map. Like, to be perfectly fair, the rush distance is still fairly short, and there's not like a way that like 2 caravels can camp in a pond in the middle and like disrupt the pressure that's going to come. And so probably just playing standard and applying pressure and just controlling the other player's fishing ability is the more logical thing to do on this map. And Dictator, has 63 villagers. At some point in the game, he was very far ahead. If we take a look at villager counts, I mean, there was a point where it was like 54 to 43, he's up 11 villagers. There's a point where it was 68 to 53, so he's up 15 villagers. But it doesn't really matter if those villagers are fishing boats that are unable to gather and spending so much time garrisons and dock just because our opponents decide to send 2 caravels. It's a huge liability at that point as well.
Yeah.
So
You have to absolutely make sure you are safe when doing this, which is tough.
Yeah.
I think Portuguese might be an interesting civ on this map. Certainly, putting a town center,
the town center is going to help you a lot.
On another island, or indeed, actually, probably a better position is next to your starting one. But I don't know. It's an interesting map. Perhaps there is a reason we don't see very many games on it, but certainly one I would like to see more of. But that does end the game. It looks like the score is 1-3.
Who won the previous game?
I think Blackthorpe played Russia and lost, didn't he? Oh God, is it 2-2?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
What's the score? We'll ask these guys. They should know.
It's probably a good
because
idea.
it's 2-2. That's what I thought.
2-2. I was wrong. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is shaping up to be interesting.
I have my money on Black Thought 4-2. So here we go. Black Thought win the next 2 games. Makes ZutaZuta a very rich man.
Do it.
You can do it. We believe in you, Black Thought. I think that's what I bet.
Mr. Brambo's good casters. We are the best. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I must admit, paid much more attention to the score in the tournament games than I did perhaps in Saturday Smackdown. But fair point. Well made. We are good casters. Yep. Sioux on Manchuria.
Oh.
Is this your map selection? Do we not get to see some brand new ones?
I said they could pick whatever they wanted.
All right, let me influence their decision.
Sure.
With a sad face. That way I express my emotions of sadness and discontempt. And perhaps that will earn me the sympathy. All right, fine. We're on the stream. We'll pick one. I can pick one after this. Oh, look at that. See?
Nice guy.
All right. Let's see. Now I restore his yes, with a smiley face. Oh, boys, here we go. The Sioux vs British on Manchuria. It's going to be interesting. Of course, Black Thought has to change his civilization because he won as British, can no longer play that. But Dictator picking British again in response to the Sioux. Could be interesting. It's, I don't know, Sioux is an interesting civ. It's got a play style that is...
dumb.
Well, it either works or it doesn't.
Retarded. Broken. I can throw lots of adjectives out there that describe Sioux.
Well, there is that. We'll see what happens. Here we have, in the south of the map, in the colour orange, Black Thought, playing as the Sioux. We shall see what happens, and we will see if Zuta's comments come to light. I'm sure they will, actually. There's just one thing Sioux does versus British, I suppose. Well, is that true? Is that true? We'll discuss that a bit later on, I suppose. But in the north of the map, in the colour teal, we do have Cyan playing as the civilization dictator.
You're struggling with that color, aren't you? You need to like bust out your box of Crayolas and like figure out what color that is according to.
Or maybe I should just switch between those three colors and just confuse absolutely everyone.
You realize there is someone's job who's like to pick names for these colors, right? Like who gets that job at Crayola? I want to be that guy. Like I want that to be my job. I want to just sit in some chair and just like BS color names like for a living. Like that is someone's job. There's someone in the world who's getting paid more money than you are, no matter what job you're doing, to sit there and name colors, and I want that
Baby
job.
blue,
yeah.
Sunset orange.
Like I want that job. I want to figure out how to acquire that position.
All right. Well, we've learned Zuta's aspirations.
Official Crayola color namer.
Crayola engineer of color anyway. Sioux dropping down an early trading post by the looks of it with his starting wood. Of course, you really don't need to build a house as Sioux. In fact, you can't build houses as Sioux. You have 200 population. Seems like a good idea. We certainly have that. Gonna make his whatever he chooses to do a bit stronger. More shipments is always good. British, on the other hand, using his early wood to build single mana.
Yes.
Oh.
ZutaZuta style. He just that scout just drive-by'd it, and he didn't even try and move it back to his base. Boom! Immediately gone, deleted.
I wish I had that on video.
Gone.
Just drive-by, delete. Yep.
That was 100% in ZutaZuta style. Like that thing is in the middle of the map. I'm not going to be bothered with it. I don't even want to look at it again. So I'm just going to delete it.
Yep, well, that's ZutaZuta for you. Doesn't like his yaks, very, very perhaps lots of effort required to send them back. Less risk involved when you delete them. Your opponent can't have them. There is that. Look, deleting even more yaks, at least though the villagers are there to
at least
the British does go with a single mana, hunting dogs in a market, and both players will be aging up fairly shortly. I think though Black Thought age up is fairly delayed from his choice to gather wood in the early game to build that trading post with. Though he did start with 95, he did find that treasure, 95 wood. But either way, age up is certainly going to be slower than British, unless he chooses to fast age.
Yeah. And this is a matchup where, once again, like, I mean, we saw Dictator playing Brits before, and he was dealing with something similar that we'll see in this game is, a pressure on your hunts. And that's always something the Brits are going to have to be mindful of. And this map, I mean, take a look at the hunt spawns. Like, I mean, doesn't have a super lot of hunt. And this game could be arguably even more annoying to deal with because, unlike India, the Sioux bow riders are going to be moving around so quickly, especially with that extra little speed boost that they get from the from their little brother.
I was about to say that. This guy, yeah.
That it's going to be very, very annoying to deal with. But Dictator, interestingly enough, maybe just going to bring the pressure to his opponent. We can see a couple forward villagers here. Might just try and slam some muskets down the throat of the orange player and say, you know what, like, I don't really want to deal with your raids, and so I'm just going to bring the pressure to you. We'll have to see whether or not that's an effective choice here.
Perhaps, though, the opponent still raids you and your musketeers are mid-map and have to walk further to defend.
Or maybe you siege down their stable and they never get out a scary enough number of cavalry units to actually like present a threat to your villagers, which is...
They are bow riders, they're not, well, yeah. We need a lot of them to be effective. They're by no means invincible.
Yeah.
Especially early on. Oh, that tower, though, has been scouted. Not going to lose it like in the H2O game, though. But still getting the scout in front of it, delaying it from wherever it wants to go. And perhaps, going to stop it from building if he gets his Explorer on the foundation. Just guessing where that is going to be. Yeah, now on top of it. Could be really frustrating. Maybe he does kill it if Dictator is not paying attention. Perhaps he's doing something else in his base with his first shipment of 700 wood or something. I don't know. Anyway, there's enough of that goes down, so never mind.
Still going to take some damage. It's going to be
It happened
useful.
once.
Yeah.
That's true. This is, 9 damage, siege that is, times by 4. It's in construction. It's very relevant.
Yeah, it's definitely good. But at the same time, Black Thought did age up very, very slowly, as you mentioned, because he gathered so much wood in transition to get that trading post up that now that he is aged up, we can see his corral is pretty darn slow. And, I mean, there are muskets out on the field. There's a second Rax coming down. He's not really going to have the time to really get raiding, and that's really what Sioux's strength is here. And in fact, like, these muskets might even be able to deny some stuff
perhaps
here.
as well. 4 Axe Riders do come out. The corral not even up. What? Going down? Feels as if he needs
I think he was just trying to gear up for some sort of semi-FF or something, but he's kind of caught here now. His Axe Riders are definitely not in a position they want to be. Good little bit of micro there, getting into melee range, being able to kill most of the HP on one of Black Thought's Axe Riders, and going to be able to pick off another one there as well with the reinforcing muskets. Nice little bit of micro there from Dictator, and this is what we were saying early in the game, right? Like, I mean, against Sioux, this is normally with most Civs suicide, but because there's pressure up in his face, there isn't any raiding pressure really whatsoever, and as a result, he doesn't really have to be, for the time at least, scared of any potential raids. So
yeah, but we do see 4 Bow Riders coming out, and Axe Riders, despite being countered by Musketeers, at least clearly there are more units of Orange, which do cost more as well individually than each unit. These 3 Musketeers going to go down, unfortunately being not with the others. Now he's gone, reinforced, got all the way back. Oh, that one guy lives with literally 0 HP. So has less than 1 HP is basically what's going on there, because Age of Empires uses decimal points and fractions and stuff like that. Anyway, unfortunately losing some units there, and that's not too good for him. But still, the pressure is real.
Yeah, and there are some Seton Bows out here. I mean, Seton Bows aren't the greatest unit in the game. I mean, we all know that. They've got this super awkward animation. But at the same time, they are still the direct counter unit to Musketeers, which are going to push the muskets back. And if he can buy himself enough time, get up some Bow Riders, and start mounting some pressure on the very exposed resources of his opponent, there's still a chance that that he can maybe stabilize here. But this force of
Dog Soldiers do pop, though. Those things are very strong, but at the same time, that guy took half a volley of HP whilst not being punished. But still, the power spike is real. These things are insane. Yep. They're even stronger in the Fortress Age, where their stats get upgraded, Shadow Tech for free. Losing a lot of units here. The Orange has a lot of units, more reinforcing Musketeers, though perhaps that will be, what he needs to push Orange away. He doesn't want to continue fighting, but actually going to take this, and I think a good decision from Blackpool.
Yeah, just look at how much damage those Bow Riders do. And it's just not like just the damage that the Bow Riders do, it's the fact that they move really quickly, so they don't lose as much time. If you consider longbows or something like chasing muskets, how often, like, sure, longbows have loads of range, but because of their animation, because they're, like, really difficult to, like, you know, get into a position to, like, actually, like, chase down muskets, they're pretty slow. Like, it's difficult to actually, like, chase them down. But those bow riders just, like, chase down the musketeers with no problem, add lots of DPS, keep the numbers fairly low, and we can see, like, take a look at the count here. I mean, the bow rider count is growing. And it's getting scarier and scarier by the minute here.
It is, but equally, look at the villager count. Dictator, 37 villages compared to his opponent's 23. He's very far ahead in terms of settlers, and at this point, like, he probably knows that. He's built, you know, an absolute ton of manors, and indeed, his opponent has been, you know, he's been killing a couple of those villages here. Does it really matter that those bow riders are getting big? He's not being raided.
Yeah.
He's able to deflect the raids, I presume.
Well, he's deflecting the raids just by continued pressure. Like the bow riders can't leave just because the moment they leave, like, even if, say, like, his whole bow rider mass shows up over here, he just runs the villagers and takes his musket count and just sieges down the infrastructure of the Sioux player. So
it's a dead Cero inside that stable. That is very... Anyway... I just saw it get shot and fall over in there whilst you were... Anyway, here comes some more musketeers. Yeah. Army count is fairly even, and that is now a direct result, of course, of the fairly inflated villager count of the British player, able to just make more units. And as a result of that, as time goes on, going to have more units. And what was a scary bow rider mass from the Sioux, or just a scary mass generally, is perhaps no longer.
And here comes the commit. He's just going to run right underneath the town center, try and kill as many units as possible here. And we can see that the orange player had intentions of running off and being able to do some raiding, but forced to come back. And I don't know if, now that both the musketeer upgrades have been sent, if he's going to have enough to deal with this mess of muskets. Although it's not looking too poor for him.
No, it's not. And some of these bow riders fairly low on HP, but no longer taking damage. They have performed the spongy effect, but with 10 reinforcing musketeers, this is not looking too good. But the musketeers that were originally in his base, he did win that fight, but more units have arrived, and certainly with the upgrades that you mentioned, and obviously the village count that he has here, neutralizing his opponent's army is exactly what he wants to do. No raids are going to happen now at all. British player, very, very safe. The Sioux just cannot do anything, and he recognizes.
We can see, like, he doesn't even need to win the fight, right? Like, okay, his opponent's not dead. There's still a bow rider left. He lost most of his muskets, but he's still gathering resources. He's going to face zero raid pressure. I mean, by knowing that he just killed all of his opponent's cavalry units, he knows he's not going to get raided for, like, the next 3, 4, or 5 minutes. He's going to be completely safe to gather. And like you mentioned several times, right, his eco's just so far ahead at this point that he's going to be able to easily remass, not going to be any pressure from bow riders. And then in 3 minutes, he's just going to be able to push in and circle siege the TC. And at that point, the game ends. And Black Thought realizes that. So
absolutely crazy. Yeah, double. He literally has double the amount of resources compared to his opponent at the end of the game. And that just goes to show, really. But that is the end of the game. A fairly interesting strategy from Dictator. Perhaps the surprise effect there. I'm not necessarily sure if that should work. But perhaps I think, you know, Black Thought's slow age didn't help, and the fact that he wanted to go up to the Fortress age also didn't help.
Well, that's probably the more important thing, right? Is the fact that the age up time was fairly slow for Black Thought, and so just everything was slightly delayed from him. And as a result of that, wasn't really ever able to get up to pressure. I mean, his 4 Axe Rider shipment was never able to raid. He was never able to actually, like, deny the British player resources. And, you know, if the British player never gets denied resources and just continues to train muskets from a forward location, like, you're probably still going to lose as a result. So,
yep.
That's what
interesting
we saw.
Game. That is the end of that one. The score is now 3-1 in Dictator's favor. Don't go anywhere, guys. Next game coming up. What's up?
I just realized that, like, my 4-2 just went out the window.
Oh no. Very sad.
Yeah, sad.
But yes, you can skip to the next game, just to remind you. But if you're still with us, well, get to experience the civilization selection. Next map is... I get to pick! Oh, I get to pick! I get to pick. All right, guys, in the chat, what are we going with? I'm going to pick a map that we have not seen just yet. How about...
I gotta see what I bet on. I want to make sure that I...
You're going to go double check. Maybe you
double
actually
check.
bet on Dictator as a 4-2, in which case your bet is very much still quite likely to happen.
Samwise 12 bet all 7 of his points on Dictator 4-3. So
He has 7 points.
He has
Is that
7
what?
points. Couple guys with some money on Dictator 4-2.
I would
Where's
like
mine?
to see either Cascade Range, Indonesia, and they're the maps that I would like to see, because we have not seen them yet on Saturday Smackdown. So, what is the chat saying? Let's take a look.
Ooh, I just realized I still have a chance.
Tibet, Cascade, Bengal. You still have a chance?
I bet 150 points on Black Thought 4-3. I still have a chance. He needs to go winner here on my next 2. But if he wins out, I'm a rich man.
Alright, I see a lot of Bengals, but it is really just the same guy. I see a lot of Tibets, also the same guy. I think I saw a Indonesia in there. I want to pick from maps that we have not seen games on yet in Saturday Smackdown. All of the ones you mentioned we have. Though Tibet was not a particularly interesting game because of the Ottoman mirror it was. So, let's go with Tibet. Tibet
or not Tibet?
Tibet.
That is the question.
In which case you did bet.
I did bet.
I forgot this week, I must admit. My imaginary internet points are not... Tibet.
Rest in peace,
Okay.
your imaginary internet points.
I'd really like to see a game on Tibet. I think the last one we saw, which was that Ottoman mirror, was disappointing because the map didn't really play into it, because Ottoman didn't really, the civilization didn't really, the map wasn't really a factor. But could be with these two players who, by the looks of it, Dictator landed on Germany. Though,
Ooh, German mirror.
Yeah, hasn't won. I just thought he's already played that. Yeah, he has, but he didn't win. German mirror on Tibet. We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Saturday Smackdown. Clicking in on Tibet, German mirror. For those of you who skipped this far, would recommend going and listening to that bit if maybe you don't want to. It doesn't really matter. But Tibet, another one of Gaia's brand new maps, which will be featured in the ASC champion. We should really just call it ESOC.
Part 2.
ESO Community Summer Championship, I think, is the name I'm going to be using. And, well, I'll just use whatever name they choose to use, but that sounds like a logical name to me. This map, for those of you who do not know, you start basically on an elevated ring. As you can see on the minimap, this goes all the way around. And there's another elevated ring in the very center. And Tibet is a mountainous region in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm sure most of us will know where Tibet is. But this basically is emulating, in my opinion, fighting on a mountain. It's effectively, that's really what I think it's supposed to be emulating. And it's a really interesting map because there are so many choke points created by the walls that open, and you just don't see that kind of thing very often in Age of Empires 3 because the maps are just inherently so closed. Because, well, unlike in Age of Empires 2 Mythology, you can walk through forests, and there's not as many choke points in AOE 3. I think Gaia's maps are interesting because of that. But we do have, in the south of the map, in the colour blue, Blackthor playing as the Germans. As we know, I mentioned it's German mirror. Choosing to build his trading site there. Didn't get the first batch of XP, but it looks like Teal might be able to, and that is extremely... No, I don't think so, actually.
I think he's going to miss it. He
hasn't
hasn't
started building.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a mistake there, but...
But this trade route is so big, if you do get that first pass, that is huge.
Yeah. One thing that I was made aware of that I mistook last time is the fact that this trading route... I thought it was one trading route. It is actually 2 trading routes. We can see there are 2 separate
yeah, that's
carts.
a fair point. Yeah.
So it's not as long. Like, I thought it was like a Great Lakes-esque type thing, right? Where it just like goes around in a circle indefinitely.
It looks like that. It seems logical to assume that, but it's actually not, yeah.
It's basically like the Great Plains, I guess, trading route, just like mirrored on both sides.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah. So,
but still, 6 trading sites is an astronomically large number of trading sites.
It's still very similar to Great Lakes in the way that how it will play out, but upgrading it is perhaps actually more viable. Perhaps you can control half of the route and you don't give access to your opponent. I don't know, it's interesting. It's certainly different, and that's good, because having another version of effectively Great Lakes, the Frost Spawn, is not that this is at all similar, because clearly these mountains. But yeah, it's cool. But Germany in the north of the map as well, both players doing very similar things.
I actually like the frosty spawn of Great Lakes. Like if every spawn of Great Lakes was the water spawn, I think it would be like a really good map.
Yeah. Well, you can make it that way if someone wants to mod it. But...
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never really liked frosty map. I just like the non-frosty maps. I prefer that aesthetic. But in terms of actual map, not a huge amount of difference.
I think in terms of gameplay though, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. That's yeah.
But each player does have a trading site. We can see Dictator is now clicked up on his way towards the next age with no idle time. Looks like Black Thought going to be shortly behind him. Does have to idle a little bit. We can see had a bit of bad luck by the looks of it with his starting herd. One of those Ibex did die quite far from his town center, which when you know, add up all the villager time walking over to that and stuff like that, that can make for a little bit of a loss there, and we can kind of see that reflected in the slight difference here in the age up times. But in general, both players doing very similar things, and I'm curious as to what we're going to see here. Normally, German mirrors can be pretty dynamic. You can, you know, do lots of stuff. You can do some sort of Doppelsonder build. You can do just, you know, a normal Cav semi-FF. You can do like Dabulan, stuff like that. So there are a couple different options, but given that the map is really quite large and there's a lot of room to maneuver around all these terrain features, it'll be interesting to see how players decide to use this terrain to their advantage in this game.
Like, whoa, my graphic, that guy did 1 damage and that just exploded. Jesus, wow. Anyway, yeah, I think it's going to be really quite interesting. And I'm definitely looking forward to a map playing out on Tibet. It is really quite intriguing. But I just want to point out, like, he's just aged up. And did you see that comment I posted on your coaching video? Zuta says no. Think inside
the box, yeah. It's I was actually so pleased with myself when I came up with that like analogy. Like I hadn't like really ever thought of it like that, like in general, and I think it's so true. Like if you, and for people who like maybe don't stick around and watch the Smackdown, I've been making this analysis recently where basically you can like draw a box around your town center that encompasses your first coin mine, a set number of trees, like 3 or 4 trees, so that you can like get upgrades and markets and stuff like that. And then imagine that you have enough time to get all of your hunts herded into that, and you should strive to like keep all of your villagers inside that box as much as possible. And so I've drawn it on my screen what I would consider it for Dictator here, and it's really, really small actually. Like if you take into consideration where his coin mine is, the number of trees that he has, and where he could potentially herd his hunts to, like I would like to see him have all of his resources and all of his villagers essentially gathering inside that box.
The bigger your box, obviously, the more they have to walk around.
The more time you walk around, and the more vulnerable you are to raids and stuff like that as well. So, if you think inside, if you think inside the box and keep everything really close to your town center, it's a really good way to like improve your gameplay just in general. Because I mean, you don't have to think about raids as much. You don't have to spend as much time walking your villagers around. There's just less to look at, and when there's less to look at, the game just becomes easier to play. So,
and obviously all of these small things really do add up, especially in mirror matches where mechanically the better player is, I suppose, well, obviously more likely to win. It's a mirror matchup. There are less BS-y things that can happen. There's less variance generally. And speaking of variance generally, not a huge amount from either player. Though he might be able to lose a villager, perhaps two. Could get sandwiched here, trying to escape through this thing. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get into... Oh, he does. Now he's going to be forced to take the fight. Blue is 2 military population up, but I don't know if they're all in this fight here. Looks like he's going to send 2 back. And is still snared. He could have fought that, and it could have been fairly even. But because he chose to try and get away by sending the ones that were snared back, that has really not worked out at all in his favor. Really quite far behind now at this point, considering both players have done the same thing and have chosen to go up with that semi-FF. Now, Dictator going to be having a lot more cav in the Fortress Age, which will all be upgraded, well, more of them to be upgraded, and certainly just more units generally. Yep. And they stop again! Oh, it's Black Thought! Oh dear, this is brutal.
Yeah, it's not good for him at all. He's been trying to pick up a settler wagon kill over here. You can see one of the settler wagons is very low in hit points, gathering on the coin mine, and lost a couple cav over there as well. And now as a result of that, a really big discrepancy in terms of military population. We can see just from the scoreboard, 20 military pop versus 4. Which is going to be very, very good for Dictator now here as he continues to apply pressure to his opponent and maybe looks to age up or continue his agenda in the second age.
Yeah, look, he's as a result of that, has he chosen to send 2 settler wagons and play it out in the colonial?
Potentially,
I don't necessarily. Well, I mean, certainly it could be, but equally going up to Fortress Age still feels really good at this point. Look at all the villagers. There's
a lot of Dops in queue, though. There's 4 Doppelsodners in queue. If
they pop out right now,
they have to come.
Oh, there they are! Can he take all of these before he notices? No, but in time, before all of his villagers go down. Yeah. Not quite as impactful as perhaps he had hoped. But especially since he's now 10 villages. No, he's not. He's only 2 villages. No, he is 10 villages down. Holy balls! Down. I got the wow. I got the military and the eco mixed up, but then I remembered a wheelbarrow is symbolic of a
villager type unit.
Yeah, and the sword is well, makes sense to that, I suppose. That is.
Oops, GG.
I feel like it is.
Oh yeah, it probably is.
Serious.
I mean, he's really far behind, and I mean, look at Dictator's resources, right? Like, Dictator is going to be aging here within the next 10 seconds. Like, very, very soon, he will be progressing to the next stage.
I see. Perhaps he felt he was so far ahead that he didn't need to send 700 coins, just could send 2 villages, scale even harder, go up slower, yeah, but because he had so many extra cav, it wouldn't be an issue at all. Yeah.
Yep. So, really, really good there for Dictator. And that's game. That's 4-2 for Dictator. And Samwise12, the prophet. Samwise12, our ever-wise prophet, will double down on his 7 points.
Whoa, dude, 7 points. All on this outcome.
He was so rich.
Perhaps I should just donate my points to Blackstar and ask him not to Blackstar, to Samwise, right? And just say, right, whatever you make with my points, I want back. You can, like, he's like the investor that knows what to invest in. Perhaps, obviously, for those of you who don't know what we're, again, I have to mention this every time. It's not real. The internet fake points that we just bet every Smackdown just for fun. No money involved. Mm-hmm. But I know I'm doing mine. I've got my remaining points.
That's actually probably a bad idea, actually, historically, due to the fact that Sam has managed to piss away essentially thousands of not only his points but other people's points that have been so very kind enough to donate them to him, and this is the first time I've actually seen him be successful in his predictions.
I think there was a joke going around on the ESOC forums that Samwise always loses bets.
Yeah, he tends to be very brash with his bets as well.
Well, that is the end of SmackDown, right?
Yep, that is.
We'll be seeing a coaching video from you.
Yeah, actually, I probably will have time to do that now that it looks like everything's fine with work. So.
All right, well, if you want to watch that, guys, it should be an annotation on screen or a link in the description. But that does conclude this part of the VOD. Thank you very much for watching. Do leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and we will see you all again next week.
True that. According to A's, I'm just reading now, you don't select that unit at the start of the game. He forgot to delete the line of code that auto-deletes the first unit you have selected. Interesting.
Oh. The first unit, okay, so don't select it.
So, like, pick a tree or something first. I like how we both immediately, like, our first instinct
was we did was select that unit.
Ooh, look at this thing. It's
I wish I
noises.
had that included. Oh.
Weird noises. I'm going to draw a box around this thing.
Alright, well, guys, you've got the replay coming up. However, I'm going to start streaming Hearthstone.